Well, you're having a busy day, my
Not as
friend.
busy as you, just trying to keep up.
Hardly. I just did one little thing today.
One little tiny
One
thing.
little thing. One little
Yes.
thing. Yes, one little taping. But
Mine,
it's all good.
my day really starts today. I mean, in terms of like life, it's you and I right now, and
Yay.
then George Kurtica and I at in 2 hours,
That's going to be awesome. That's
and
his
then
first taping. That's his big debut.
I know, and then
After
we
that,
do.
yeah,
He and I are doing a Stacking Benjamins Friday FinTech segment about Joust,
awesome.
and then
Awesome.
after that, then we record a roundtable for Stacking Benjamins. So it's all recording starting right now.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
best is happening right now, Bobby.
Thank
You and
you.
I, best ever.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Welcome
This
to
is the highlight of my day. Yes. It is actually. This is so fun. So, and this was unplanned, by the way. We were not officially scheduled to come on now. So, anyone that is joining us, that's why you didn't get any heads up on Instagram or anything.
this is also going to be live a long, long time from now because I am headed out of the country. So because of that, we're recording this for April 4th and 6th.
That might be the furthest ahead we've ever done.
It is way long. But we
Yeah.
know, because we know it'll be the end of me being gone for 2 weeks. So we know they're going to be evergreen. And
Yes.
because of that, we know that like, as an example, George and I changed, Bobby, you'll appreciate this. We changed everything that we're talking about.
Yes.
Everything. We're going to
Because
do
it's
the
going tomorrow.
we're going to do
Because
the
it's going
down 1,000 points. No, for Thursday and Friday.
right.
We're going to do but it's the closest one that we have. So we're going to do the down 1,000 points. And then, there's the big Credit Karma deal, Intuit Credit Karma. So, and he's in a unique spot to talk about that, being in fintech. So
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be
he's like
really good.
he's like the perfect guy to talk about that. So, all right, we ready to do this thing?
We are.
Let's make a couple podcasts. This is for April 4th, 2020, and we are live when you're ready.
What could be more romantic than a prenup? We'll tell you why one reality TV star is saying just that and what we can all learn from her thought process about putting the terms of any deal down in writing. That and so much more on this edition of Money with Friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I am certified financial planner Bobby Rebel, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from my mom's half finished basement outside of Detroit, Michigan, where we make the Stacking Benjamin Show, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
And this is the Money News Show that includes commentary on recent headlines and stories with thought leaders from across the financial landscape. We break those stories down into what matters to you, our friends, and we leave you with a takeaway to make it your own.
And today's show is brought to you by Acre Trader, investing in farmland simplified. Mark Twain said it, Bobby. Invest in farmland. They're not making more. He didn't say that exactly. He said invest in real estate. They're not making more. If you want to know how investing in farmland works, they have an explainer video. Head to acretrader.com/MWF. And today we are trading in on weddings. We're talking people getting married.
Yes, we're talking about people getting married, but we're also talking about financial deals and financial partnerships because there can be a lot that's great about them. But at the same time, if things go wrong, it's really important. I guess I'm giving a little bit away about where I'm going to come down on this, but it's sometimes good to know ahead of time how things will come down if they come apart.
I've never heard someone call a prenup romantic before this, but we'll get into that.
But she did.
As soon as we see which one of our friends is going to help us kick off today's show.
Okay, this piece comes from one of my favorite newspapers, the New York Post. And I do say that sincerely. I love the New York Post. This piece is from Chelsea Hirsch. It is titled, Stassi Schroeder Finds Some Romanticism in a Prenup. Stassi Schroeder is thinking about every detail of her future with fiance Beau Clark, including a prenup. The Vanderpump Rules star, age 31, is set to tie the knot with the casting associate, 39, this summer, but wants to be prepared just in case happily ever after doesn't last. Quote, I feel like people look at that as a dirty thing that we shouldn't talk about, but it's honesty. I feel like there is some romanticism to it and being able to be so close to someone that you're willing to have those uncomfortable conversations, she said, while promoting her partnership with Real California Milks CBD, meaning California based dairy, not what you're thinking, dispensary pop up. It's brought me closer to Bo the more that we talk about it. And I kind of want to just like turn that around. Cameras captured her, cameras captured her co-stars Tom Schwartz and Callie Maloney going over their prenuptial agreement before their 2018 wedding, which was not legalized, and it's unclear if they signed a prenup ahead of their technicality wedding this summer.
Meanwhile, Schroeder's ex-boyfriend, Jax Taylor, and his bride, Brittany Cartwright, revealed they did not have any intentions of signing a prenup ahead of their June 2019 wedding. Schroeder, who now pens a column called Basic Bride for Glamour, plans to address the topic in an upcoming post. She previously wrote that wanting to tape her wedding for Bravo hasn't made the planning process run smoothly at all, as some venues did not want to be on camera. Still, Schroeder wouldn't change a thing. I'm so grateful to be where I am, and that's because of Vanderpump Rules, she explained. And it's not like I was just cast on a reality show with a bunch of random people. This is my group of friends and my chosen family, and so we've created this whole show in life for ourselves by being open and showing everything. And it's all I know. So if it makes wedding planning harder and I don't get my first, and I haven't got my first, second, or third choice in things, it's fine, because I feel lucky that I'm where I'm at. Feels like she's pretty grounded, doesn't it?
I was going to say, I like this girl. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not
watch
a regular. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I don't watch Vanderpump Rules. I've watched it maybe 3 times. Found it kind of interesting, the fights that they have on that show, like every other reality TV show. But I like what she has to say here.
I like it too. I think of note, she is a little bit older. She's in her 30s, which so while she's still a millennial, I think when you're over 30 and you're getting married, maybe, and it's not just an age thing, but we're stereotyping a little bit. I think that she's probably been through a lot. Again, I'm not a regular viewer of it, but there's probably a lot of drama on the show, and she's seen a lot of breakups. And I think she's being really smart.
I really like this idea of why she calls it romantic. She doesn't call the prenup romantic. She said it's romantic being able to have uncomfortable conversation, being close enough that you
Mhm.
can have uncomfortable conversations with this person. I really like that.
I like it too. And I think she's making a really good point because it is a very difficult conversation, and it's a conversation that sometimes gets other people involved, especially when you are younger. If the assets that might be divided, maybe assets from the broader family that might be the cause for concern, other people can get involved and it can become very messy. But if the couple themselves can have these conversations and be honest about money, it can really open up a discussion about other things that they're going to be confronting regarding how they feel about money and the decisions they'll be making as a married couple.
I think that's the best way to address a prenup, is to make it a much bigger issue. I think when you've just had the prenup by itself, it might look like you don't trust each other. But when it's part of a series of all the uncomfortable conversations together, then it truly is, I think, planning the right future together.
Yeah, and I think it goes to all kinds of decisions you're going to make together, but it also is the same kind of discussions that you might have in any negotiation that you might have in business, in any decisions you're making with your partner about where to put your assets, what your priorities are. I think it can be very useful. But there's also a case against the prenup. I'm as everyone knows, I talk about it a lot, not a lot, but I was previously married before I married my second and forever husband, I like to call him. I did not have a prenup with my first husband. And the truth is, we didn't have a lot of assets. And that's often very true with first marriages, especially when you get married, as I did in your 20s.
I was thinking about that. Cheryl and I don't have a prenup, but we would have just split our debt at that time. So everything we have, we've done together. So from that perspective, having a prenup wouldn't have made a lot of sense. But certainly the older you are, and if you have assets that you built by yourself before the wedding, the older you are, if you've children separately, things like that, having the prenup, I think is makes a ton of sense.
And like the point that you made, that she's calling the conversation regarding a prenup is what's romantic. And those kind of conversations should really happen no matter what. And they often don't. And it's amazing how many people get married and don't necessarily know everything there is to know financially about their partner. I've also talked candidly about the fact that I got engaged to my first husband not knowing his salary. I didn't know his income. And I look back and I think, oh my goodness, how naive was I to, because you are making this, I thought at the time, lifelong commitment to somebody. And while of course I would have married him no matter what the income was at that point, I should have at least known what it
Yeah.
was. But I wasn't able to have that uncomfortable conversation. And I think that was a sign of why maybe we weren't such a good match, is that if I couldn't have that conversation with him, even
Do,
to know what is your income, and yet we got married, that's maybe not the best start, not having those conversations.
do you think that was a maturity thing?
Yes. And that's why, and every person is different, but that is why I mentioned that she is over 30 and she also has lived a big life at this point. I mean, she clearly, well, I shouldn't assume, but I would presume that because she's been on this very successful reality show and I assume has other business ventures, I believe she wrote a book, she has assets. And so she's, been a businesswoman, she's earned reasonable income, and it makes sense that she would be smart enough to be discussing what would happen should things go awry.
I was always surprised when someone would, when a couple would come to me back when I was a financial planner before they got married. People coming to me after they got married was one thing, but man, people that would talk to the financial planner ahead of time and get everything out of the open, that was just fantastic. And you could tell that usually those relationships seemed like they were going to last a long time because they were starting to plan together immediately. And it was fascinating because every time that I would meet with couples before they were married. We'd have these wide ranging conversations, just these fantastic conversations. And I thought, man, if more people did this, that'd be great. Not just even having it, the two of you, but having the guts to have that with a third party as well. Pretty outstanding.
Yeah, I think those are definitely great foundations for success. Something, as I said, I just didn't do in my 20s when I had this very short lived marriage. And it was definitely something that maybe had we done that, we might have either been a more successful married couple or not gotten married if we
Did it,
weren't compatible financially. Because a lot of our issues were financial things that we never had talked about.
did it even cross your mind though?
Nope.
Yeah, not once.
Nope.
And,
Nope.
and, and then it's funny. So now with your husband now, did that cross your mind ahead of time?
Oh, yes. The 2 of us were completely in sync, and, well, look, we had both been married before, and we'd both by then been divorced as well, and there were complications in that he had 2 children, who, did eventually live with us and so on, and we had assets, we had careers. I mean, we were both in our 30s by the time we got remarried, which is kind of young in a way for a second marriage, but we were remarried, to each other in our mid-30s, and we had many open conversations about exactly what was going on, because we had to. There was so much going on at that point. I owned a residence. He was selling his residence from his previous marriage, was still on the market because it was the housing crisis. And so there was a lot to discuss.
A
What
lot
was
of
going on?
logistics. Yeah.
We had ex spouses, we had assets, and yeah, it was absolutely something that we completely agreed on. And it was fairly straightforward because it was very obvious, what should be done, in that prenup. But we absolutely agreed that we would have a prenup right away.
Coming up in just a moment, Bobby and I will have our big takeaways from today's show. But while I give her a couple minutes to get the greatest takeaway ever together, I'll talk a little bit about Acre Trader, our sponsor for today. What I like about Acre Trader is the fact that I grew up in farm country and I get it. I've seen that even during downturns in real estate, farmland historically has not had those same downturns, but it doesn't mean that they won't have them. It just means that because there's always less and less and less farmland, and because of the fact that it's used for a very utilitarian purpose, just to make food that we all eat, farmland historically has been a much more stable asset than a lot of other real estate investments. In fact, I'm looking at a historical return since 1990 right now, average annual return of 11.5%. Once again, doesn't mean it's going to, but you can make a really good case for farmland. The problem with farmland historically, it's expensive to purchase a big, huge piece of property. So what Acre Trader does is splits it up into smaller units. You end up buying just a piece of the farm, don't have to buy the whole thing. And you also don't have to be a farmer, which is what I didn't get when I first was learning about Acre Trader. I thought, man, I grew up in farm country and I do not want to be a farmer. Good news, you don't have to. The farmer farms the land, they rent it from you, and Acre Trader takes part in the whole process and makes it go. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to collect the rent from the farmer. You also don't have to work with the farmer on keeping the soil sustainable. You don't have to work with them on what they're growing. None of that stuff. Acre Trader does everything. And you, on your end, once a year, you'll get your portion of the rent check for the piece of the farm that you owned. And then when they're ready to sell the farm, of course, then at that point, then you'll get your return. There's a lot to know here, but if you're like me, you may find it very attractive. Head to acretrader.com/MWF for Money with Friends for more. All right, Bobby, what's your big takeaway here?
It is more complicated when it comes to love, but anytime there are financial resources and assets involved, making sure you are protected should things change in any partnership is a good idea. I am on Team Stassi.
Yeah, and I'm just going to riff off of yours because I totally agree with that. Not just with assets, but the fact that it is romantic to have these difficult conversations, because it is. When I would see relationships that succeeded when I was a financial planner, it's because the couple would have these very, very difficult discussions. There's going to be if you're going to be married to somebody for a long period of time, there's going to be a difficult discussion, and you can't avoid them. And if you find yourself avoiding them, that's only going to be problems for the future. You have to find it romantic like she does to have these conversations at a time. So I think we come down on the same side of this one, Bobby.
Very well said, though. I like that.
Well, thank you. And likewise.
Yes.
Where can people help us make the show? Let's talk about Instagram. We didn't have an Instagram poll today, but we often do. And how can people follow us over there?
Our handle on both Instagram and Twitter is @MoneyFriendsPod. And you can also learn more about the show and about the thought leaders that we sometimes have on by going to our website our website is moneywithfriendspodcast.com. And you can also find links, by the way, to the stories that we talk about on each show by going to the calendar there, the schedule on that webpage.
And thanks to everybody, by the way, who's left us a review of this podcast. I've got one here from Cheatonium. Bobby, 5 stars, says evolving for the better. Have enjoyed the show and especially its move to shorter daily shows. The guests are insightful and the hosts have gone out of their way to gather multiple viewpoints across the financial media spectrum. And thanks for that, because we really have worked hard to make sure we have not just different shows, but a lot of different voices on here, Bobby.
Yes, absolutely true. And we have an amazing cast this season as well, which we're enjoying getting to know.
It has been so much fun. Tell you what else is fun. Bobby and I will be back Monday. We will let you have a Saturday at home without us or catching up on old episodes. We'll see you back here on Monday with Bobby at Money with Friends. See you later. 15.
Did you mean Sunday? Not Saturday. You said we'll have that Saturday off. It doesn't matter.
Probably.
You have like 3 more tapings after this. This is how you're supposed to be at like 9 o'clock at night when you're getting all bouncy. Oh my gosh. I'm the one that should be exhausted. I'm like, I've been doing this since 6, but this is my fun one. My other tapings are awesome, but a little stressful.
Yeah, I'm actually not exhausted at all. I just lost it at the end. All right, investment news. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll do Investing World doesn't really want someone like her.
Yes.
This is Lohman. I think it's Lohman or Lofman.
I don't know.
I'm going to go with Lohman.
I'll let you bungle that.
All right.
All right. We're ready to tape show number 2.
All right. Let me just grab something.
Yeah. We're on YouTube, but we're not on the audio.
And
by the way, so we planned this very last minute. So my husband is entitled to have lunch. He's grabbing some food out of the fridge quickly.
You want to pause for a second?
Yeah. Actually, we should stop this and should we come back on? We were talking about keeping these short. Let's go off and come back on. So Amika, stay with us. And anyone else, we'll be back.